Peace and love, creatives. A couple of weeks ago, I decided to go online to Jackson's and look at how much a Perylene red would cost me. And while I was online, I saw that Isaro, who makes the Perylene red, has a nice line of watercolors, and I decided, hey, I should make my own palette.
I got Venetian red,
around this Perylene red. So I did.
English red, cadmium yellow lemon, indigo blue, cadmium red deep, turquoise green, Beverly rose, cadmium yellow deep, chromium oxide green, Isaro mauve, mauvelous. See what I did there? Okay, stop. Phthalo green yellow, Payne's gray, burnt sienna, Mars brown, light, yellow ochre, cadmium orange, Isaro purple deep, pearly rose deep, what is that one? Indian Therine blue, Perylene red, okay, and Indian yellow. Okay, now this little guy right here is the cause of all of the other purchases. I decided that I wanted to make a paint palette with the Perylene red, and I figured I would get a couple of other colors from this line and make a palette that I can use. So that's what I'm gonna do.
So while shopping on the site for Perylene red, I found myself wanting to make an entire paint palette with this company's watercolors. So that's exactly what I did. And I tried to make a good palette, but honestly, this is my first time ever making my own personal watercolor palette that didn't come already curated for me or in, you know, a set, like, or in a box. Like, this is all me. I picked all these colors myself, and not gonna lie, some of them are very similar in color, but I don't know, I think for the most part they're pretty good. I did swatch these in my live stream. If you guys want to check that out, you can. If you would like me to swatch these and do a little bit of a better breakdown on them, just let me know in the comments and I'll do that. Right now, I'm just getting my watercolor paper ready to paint on. Now, the watercolor paper I'm using is Arch's watercolor paper, and I'm using a light box to transfer my drawing onto the watercolor paper. Number one, because if I drew it directly on the watercolor paper, having to erase and all that kind of ruins the texture and the tooth of the watercolor paper. But on top of it, that's where I actually drew the piece in that sketchbook. So I figured, why not just transfer it instead of redrawing it again. When you're using the light box, it's really important to have like complete darkness so that the light is really shining through when you're using it. This one was like really cheap. It was like $8. I'm using a portable like battery charger thing, my little USB cable, and that's where you plug it in. It's very simple, easy to use, no big deal kind of thing. Now I'm lightly erasing the red pencil, and then I'm gonna tape the edges down. So once I get all the edges on the actual page taped down, then I'm gonna tape my paper down to a nice stiff board that I can move around if I need to. Although I end up not moving the board around at all. Once that's all done, I actually go over the entire drawing with I believe it was an 8B pencil. Yeah, it was an 8B pencil. And I just want to make sure that I have all my lines where I want it before I start doing any of my painting. So that's what I do here. And then I actually lightly erase it again. This is the way the paints ended up drying. They dried really well. I was very impressed with the way they dry. I have definitely had my share of pouring paints into paint pans, and of all the ones that I've poured in as of yet, this set of paints dried the best. There was no cracking. It didn't dip down a whole bunch. It was really good. I just showed you the swatch that I had did on my live stream. Like I said before, if you want me to go further in depth with the paints that I got, just let me know in the comments and I'll make a video for that probably in like 2 weeks if you want me to. I don't have to. But for the most part, most of the paints that I got are single pigment. There's a couple of multi-pigment paints in there. They're really good. I like them. They're awesome. I started out with my Perylene red, my Perylene red for everything, because that was the reason why I got this set in the first place. And then I ended up using the Indian yellow to make a skin tone with it. And it was kind of like a back and forth of drying, painting and then letting it dry, but I would let it completely dry. I actually have a heat tool that I'm using to dry it in between so that I don't have to wait longer than I have to. It's definitely come in handy, yeah, especially in this painting. So I cleaned off my palette, and I got out the indigo blue and the Payne's gray, and that's what I'm going to use for her hair. Now, if you're curious about what I'm using for the tin for the the watercolor paints that I have, by the way, the company's name is Isaro. That's the name of the watercolors that I have. But I actually just made a tin. I got the tin from the Dollar Tree, and it's like an activity tin. I took the activity out and used it for my watercolors. I eventually am going to put some sticky tack on the bottom of each pan so that they can just stay in place. I have done that in the past and my pans stay put when I put them down, so I'm definitely going to do that again. Pretty much with the hair is the same that I did with the skin, you know, in layers, let it dry. Actually, did I let it dry? I didn't let it dry. I just went over it again. I love the Payne's gray effect that I get in her hair. There's like a natural granulation that goes on with this paint color that just, it helped to make her hair look like hair, if that makes any sense. But I didn't have to work so hard to make her hair look good, if that makes sense. Yeah, there's I really like this piece, but there are definitely things that, you know, once you're doing the editing and the voiceover, you can see. So, but all in all, I really do enjoy the way this piece came out. Right here, I just took a whole bunch of Perylene red and I'm putting it around the whole entire page. And I actually do this twice to get like a really good color, and I just want her to pop out of the page, and I felt like one layer after it dried wasn't enough, so I did a second layer. And I also used the Perylene red to give her a little bit more shadow and shading. I just felt like it wasn't dark enough, and that's what I did. I also kind of fudged up a little bit, so I diluted some of her face down a little, and then I'm gonna go back over and try to fix it, which I do. I think it comes out pretty good. So this is the second coat of Perylene red, and I'm doing her lips. After that, I kind of touch everything up with some pencils, and the pencils that I'm using are the Caran d'Ache Luminous pencils. Am I saying that wrong? I'm probably saying that wrong. And I also like the colors that I picked from the Caran d'Ache set matched the Isaro watercolor set perfectly. I just like it was great. I had no complaints about the pencil colors that I picked. And then I used that gold for, you know, the superior golds that I think I've been in love with lately, and I used that to you know, make her big gold hoop earrings. There was a little area on the bottom that I don't know, I didn't paint it properly, so I kind of touched it up, and then here it is in all her glory with her big hoops. I want to thank you guys for watching. If you guys want more on the Isaro watercolors, just let me know and I'll be happy to do it. Peace and love.